So a very warm welcome to all our viewers and welcome to a new edition of Today's Youth, where we showcase and bring you some of the most interesting and prominent Egyptian youth to come to Egypt and talk about all their experiences in their homeland. My name is Angie Meher. I'll be joining you for today's edition, so do stay tuned. A short break and we'll be right back to introduce our guest for today's episode. Stay tuned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and we are delighted to have today with us in the studio on today's episode of Today's Youth, our guest for this afternoon, Omar Ahmed. A very good afternoon to you, Omar.
Hello, and thank you for having me
Thank
today.
you so much for coming in. So, Omar, tell us a bit about yourself, where you're from. You were born and raised where, a bit about your studies, just a brief introduction.
Sure. So my name is Omar Ahmed. I was born here in Cairo, Egypt.
Okay.
And then I moved to Jeddah, Saudi Arabia when I was 3.
All right.
And I stayed there for like 15 years. And then after graduation from high school, I decided to move to Canada to study marketing and international business at the Asper School of Business in the University of Manitoba.
Okay.
And yeah, that's all about me.
So what inspired you to go to Canada? Why didn't you think, you know, I can come back and study here in Egypt? We also have great institutions in the area of business studies.
Sure. Well, like growing up in Saudi Arabia, it was super hot. And then whenever I like go to school, I used to have like lots of friends that come from North America. And two of my really close friends came from Canada.
Okay.
And
So you
they
guys all went
started
together?
No, they just started talking to me about how cold Canada gets, and I just wanted to experience that. So I was
Okay.
like, oh yeah, I'll just go and experience
See how the
that.
weather is.
Exactly.
So how cold does Canada get?
It can get up to negative 60 degrees
Whoa.
Celsius.
Whoa,
yeah.
whoa, whoa. So how do you manage?
We just go to university. We wear a heavy coat and just go to university.
So tell me, you know, you were technically raised most of your life in Saudi Arabia.
Exactly.
Did you used to come visit Egypt throughout your young...
Definitely, like
how often did you
every
used to come?
summer.
Yeah. Okay, so you used to come often.
Yeah.
How important were those visits for you to keep in touch with your family, with your country, etc.?
Well, every time I leave to Saudi Arabia, I just count down the days until I come back to Egypt, because it's a love that won't ever go away wherever I go. And yeah, I just feel super good when I know the time my parents book a flight to Egypt.
To Egypt, right?
Yeah.
We actually have pictures with you now on the screen from your time in Saudi Arabia, I think. Is that correct?
Yep,
right. Let's talk a bit about your family. You have siblings?
I do have one sister.
And so you also used to live in Saudi Arabia with you?
Exactly.
And where is she now?
She's in Canada with me.
As well?
Yeah.
All right, studying in the same area.
University, yeah.
All right, so let's talk a bit about when you used to come to Egypt. You said you used to count the days till you came back home. What is it about Egypt that used to make you want to always come back? Was it the family, your friends? Was it the general atmosphere? Was it the places you visited? Tell us a bit more about that area.
Of course, most importantly, it's my family. And then comes the people, the Nile, the vibe itself. Egypt just have that vibe that makes you want to come back. And yeah, that's a really important thing to me. And of course the beach.
Of course, yes. We have some of the most beautiful sights. So over the years, Omar, you are a great example of someone who's witnessed all the changes, because you used to come often from your childhood till your youth till recently. So tell us a bit about how you've seen the changes in Egypt. Every visit, I'm sure you'd notice something different than the visit before.
Sure.
Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Well, lately, for the past like 3 to 4 years, whenever I come to Egypt for a visit, I do witness strong and effective changes, either with roads or like the buildings, the new buildings, the new historical places like the Baron Palace.
Discoveries, yes.
Exactly.
And renovations.
Renovations.
Yes.
And it just makes me more and more happy.
Indeed. And you talked about the infrastructural development you've seen over the years. We're talking new roads, new bridges, new
Exactly.
tunnels, all easing the traffic, etc., making every place more accessible. Tell me, in comparison to Canada, I'm sure they also have a wonderful road network.
Yep.
Traffic, is traffic an issue?
No, like whenever they talk that today we do have a heavy traffic, I just get super like confused.
Like 2 minutes, yes.
Yeah.
So tell me, these infrastructural developments, if you were to compare them with other road, for example, construction and development, etc., overseas, how do you see the level that Egypt is at?
I mean, recently the roads in Egypt are like being done in a very good way. The infrastructure is really good. When I compare it to some streets in Canada, I just like wish that they use some Egyptian engineers to like do their own roads, because some of the roads in Canada do have like heavy bumps.
Really?
Yeah.
So Omar, tell me, we're seeing some pictures of you on the screen. Could you tell us a bit about these photographs? Where were they taken? What were you doing? Where were you visiting?
Sure, that's a picture of me in Canada. It was like a -40 at that time.
Wow.
This is a picture with one of the Egyptian national teams last year during the tournament here in Egypt.
Now you've met with with Minister Nabila Makram, and
Yep.
You have had a one-to-one meeting with her. You've been involved in the program where her ministry is reaching out to the Egyptian youth abroad, you know, encouraging them to come visit Egypt, to see their home country, to move back maybe and start, you know, working, etc. Tell me a bit about how you got involved, how they reached out to you, exactly what happened.
Okay, so I was one of the people who came on a VIP, I guess, plane, emergency plane from Canada due to the corona. Exactly.
Yes.
And when I first arrived to Marsa Alam, a representative from the Ministry of Immigration, her name was Gina, contacted me via Facebook to tell me if I'm feeling good back home, how was the trip, and tell me more about your travel and if everything is okay. After that, she contacted me again to let me know if I would be interested to go on many visits with the Ministry of Immigration, and that was definitely a huge change in my life.
Tell me why. Tell me about the whole process, how you met with them, where they took you, everything.
Sure.
All the details.
Sure. So our first visit was to the Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation.
What was the importance of this visit, in your opinion? Of course, you know the issue of water in Egypt is very precious, and there's the whole issue surrounding the
Ethiopia dam.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So tell me the importance of such a visit for somebody like you who maybe wanted to go on touristic spots. You know what I
Sure.
mean?
Yeah.
What did this change in your perception?
Well, when I was in Canada, the issue with the Ethiopian dam started to rise up, but I didn't really know what's happening over there. And when we went to the ministry and visited the minister himself, he started talking to us about everything. He explained everything to us and made it clear in a way that if anyone abroad or even here in Egypt started talking in a bad way on how Egypt is trying their best to get back their water from the
Actually, they're
Ethiopian.
right.
They are. We can defend Egypt and tell
is
them the
important.
actual truth. Yes.
So after the visit, what did you do at this ministry specifically?
With which ministry?
With the water resources. That's
Water.
the first venue you went to, right?
Exactly. After that, we went to the Baron Palace, and there I was amazed on how we do have such like a good architectural place. Like I used to just go in front of
Past it
the
on the
palace,
street.
exactly,
Yes, all of us.
and wonder what's inside that. But after the Ministry of Immigration organized that visit to us, we went inside, we knew all the history, we knew what's the history of Heliopolis, and I was amazed by that.
Indeed, indeed. Where else did you visit?
After that, we went to the National Council for Women, and that was one of my special visits because I am a feminist who supports women's rights, and I'm part of an association in Canada that talks basically about feminism and women's rights. So, yeah, that was a really important visit to me.
So I can't, let you go without talking about feminism and women's rights, because this is also a dear topic to me. How do you see the role of women in Egypt over the last few years, whether it's from the beginning of the revolution to the elections, to the political kind of awareness that women in Egypt have shown, even though I believe it was there for years before all of this. But let's talk a bit about the role of women in the last few years. How do you see it in Egypt? How do you see the efforts as well of the leadership to promote women's rights, to give women the platform or more space, whether it's in political or economic spheres in Egypt?
Sure. So for the past few years, it was obvious that the leadership here in Egypt was moving towards giving women more power.
Yes.
And we can see that obviously with the ministers. Like there are lots of, we can't say lots, but we are trying to improve that. Some female ministers like Nabila Makram, the Minister of Immigration, and many more.
And you could even see it in her ministry, in her staff.
Exactly.
You said the first person that contacted you was a woman.
Exactly. In addition to the parliament too, like the number of female representatives are increasing day by day. And yeah, I'm saying that Egypt is trying to look forward to even more equal pay and more rights for the women in the whole country.
Do you know that Egypt is one of the countries that actually, if I am a manager somewhere and I have a colleague who's a male who's a manager, we actually get an equal salary most of the time, which is, I know, is not the case maybe in the States. I don't know about Canada.
I don't know. They don't have really equal pay.
Why is that? Even though if the woman is in the same position, why does she get less? Even though there we claim that they're more, women's rights and feminists.
Yeah.
Why is that? In your opinion?
Well, they still believe that men do better than women at the same exact job. But it's trying to get better, but still there is
so Egypt is a kind of ahead in that sense.
We can say so. Yep.
So this is on the political and economic side, but you as a teenager and as a member of the youth, and I'm sure you go out and you have lots of different friends in Egypt. How do you see generally women, young women in Egypt? How do you see their behavior, their aspirations, their rights, whether it's education-wise or societal, familial? Do you see an improvement if you can compare to a previous time?
Truly, especially, I guess, this year, the women in Egypt gained their confidence more and more to speak up and try to do something without being hesitant, because that's what Egypt wants. They want women to stand up and be themselves, and I believe we are going in the right way.
And they are great leaders indeed. After the visit to the National Women's Council, where else did you go?
After the visit to the National Council. Do you want them in order?
Okay, let's, speaking to the Minister Nabila Makram, of course, you met her personally. Tell us a bit more, her reception, what she said to you. I'm sure you also met other Egyptian youth who live abroad who were on the visit. How do you see their reception of the tour? What did they say afterwards? What do they want to do when they finish their studies? Do some of them have plans to come back to Egypt, or is everyone, settled abroad?
Sure. Well, I've absolutely met lots of, I call them friends now.
Yes.
When we started going on these visits. And when we even went to the Galala University, or the whole Galala city, the Minister Nabila Makram.
So we can see a picture of you there, right, with her?
That was when we visited the Air Force Museum.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. So sorry, back to the Galala University.
Yes, back to the Galala University. When we went there, Nabila Makram, the Ministry of Immigration, along with Khalid Abdel Ghaffar, the Ministry of Higher Education, talk to us about how Egypt is going on a way to improve the overall educational system, and especially with the higher education sector by, as we saw, building 3 universities on a very international high standard. And after they showed us around the university, they actually did ask us to be positive, and if we do want to come back after graduating from abroad to work here, we are more than welcome. And yeah, some
So
people.
Omar, on a personal note, personally,
Yeah.
what do you want to do after you graduate?
After I graduate, it's really unclear, but
Do you think of coming back home?
I do, but the thing is, I don't want to come back home unless I know that I'm gonna try and help Egypt as much as possible, because that's one of the reasons I traveled. I want to gain the experience and the knowledge that is going to be enough and great for me to help Egypt in the future.
Looking at the new educational facilities, there's been a great boom in education in Egypt. Lots of new tertiary education institutions being prepared and built, and a reform really in the education system. Also, the COVID-19 pandemic assisted a bit in speeding up, online education. How was that situation for you in Canada, online education? Was that also the norm?
It wasn't.
It wasn't?
No.
What did you guys do over there?
We used to go in person and everything.
Oh.
So when the COVID situation started and we had to go online, everything was a mess.
course.
We couldn't really transfer with 180 degrees way. They had to lessen the restrictions on us while doing our finals, for example, and giving us many options to receive our grades. Either it's a pass or a fail, or just I don't want that grade to show on my transcript.
Okay.
So I don't think online learning is a good way to actually learn, or some places didn't actually know how to transfer directly.
Did they eventually, though, get that?
Well, I started university right now, and it's getting better, but still online learning is not like an in-person learning.
It's very difficult indeed. I agree, Omar. Ladies and gentlemen, a very short break, and we'll be right back to continue this edition of our program, Today's Youth, and we'll be back to stay tuned.
أحلم بالدنيا اللي مفيش فيها كره وغل، الشمس بتطلع فيها تنور قلب الكل.
الحب يكون هو لغتها، والناس تستمتع بحياتها،
والخير يزيد ويفيض ويغطي حدود الأرض.
I dream of a world where no one hates to hold the grudge.
Da forstuì una fotisi allora,
dove si vive per l'amore che riempie il tempo di colore.
любите жить то, что дается свыше нам. نحلم بالدنيا اللي يعيش فيها ناس في سلام، ناس يفكروا في المستقبل يشوفوا القدام. الحلم بيلمع بعيونهم، مو فارقة لا لونهم ولا دينهم،
ناس قابلين كل اختلافاتهم عايشين مع بعض.
أحلم بمكان الحب بيطرح فيه ويملى، أحلم بمكان في كل اللي احنا بنتمناه،
وما نتحككش بأي ظروف، ونعيش من غير إحساس الخوف، مع عالم واحد كل الناس بتعيش جواه.
I dream of a world where love is everything we do. I dream of a
welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Still with you and today's episode of Today's Youth, and we're delighted to be joined in the studio by our guest, Omar Ahmed, all the way from Canada. Thank you so much, Omar, for joining us this afternoon. Let's talk a bit about your visits to other places on your own now in Egypt. I'm sure the North Coast is a great hit for most of the youth. Tell me a bit about all the places that you've visited, whether the North Coast, whether Upper Egypt, Luqsor, Aswan, that area. Tell me a bit about your travels around the country.
Sure. Well, as I said, I haven't lived really in Egypt since I was born. So whenever I come during the summer, I usually go to the North Coast. I do go to Sharm el-Sheikh, Hurghada, or other touristic places, mostly beach areas. And yeah, as you said earlier, we do have one of the most beautiful beaches in the whole world.
Indeed. Have you ever had friends over from Canada, Canadians that come with you to Egypt to visit Egypt or met them in Egypt?
Sadly, no, but there are lots of promises because whenever I come back during, like after the summer and show them pictures of Egypt, they do love it and they promise to come one day.
Tell me, Omar, when you tell someone abroad or in Canada, I'm an Egyptian, what's the first response that you get?
Well, it's mostly a stereotype of just imagining.
Is it really still stereotypical how they see Egyptians?
It is, sadly.
So what do they see? What's the stereotype? Desert, camel, bloody...
Exactly, just like the pyramids, the Nile, sand everywhere, which is absolutely wrong. Like, if they just searched Egypt on Google, they will find the beautiful country we see.
So do you play a role in kind of, you know, fixing this perception?
Yes, absolutely, because they do name me the CEO of promoting visits to Egypt.
And on that note, well, there's a picture on the screen.
Oh, that was during a Halloween party.
Okay.
And I just decided to represent as a fair, to dress up as a fair.
A bit of a stereotype, right yourself there.
It was, exactly. But that's what they know about us over there.
So when you kind of show them, you know, the modern aspect of Egyptians and Egyptian life and Egypt as a country, how do they react differently to?
I mean, during our visits with the Ministry of Immigration, whenever I post something on my Instagram or like a story, they do reply to me and be like, "Wow, is that Egypt?" Exactly, that's like beautiful, and I just be like, "That's Egypt. You should come and visit."
It is indeed. So tell me, Omar, now that why are you in Egypt now when you're supposed to be at school?
Because our education is now online.
Oh, so you decided to stay here and
well,
for a while.
Yes, because as I said, I never lived here. I want to experience Egypt throughout the whole year. And
this should be a nice experience for you.
It should be.
Is it different so far? I mean, when you come on vacation, it's fun, no sleep, lots of going out, you know.
Exactly.
There isn't a very big system because you're on vacation. But when you live here, can you tell us the differences?
Well, as I started university, the time difference is killing me.
It's a problem. Yes.
Exactly. Because I start classes at 6 p.m. and finish around midnight.
Okay.
So that's a big problem for me. So my day is like flipped right now. Exactly.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, another short break and we'll be right back to continue today's edition of Today's Youth, and we'll be backstage soon.